Hello, beloved community. We are back with our virtual team series. We are made for these times. In this episode, we would like to dedicate some time to continue what we started last week, but now refocus with the question, what are we learning as we are growing in our humanity together? So without further ado, I want to open it up to this beautiful virtual circle. So as you feel free to share, please jump in with me. And I'm looking forward to this.
All right, I'm going to go, but I'm going to go in a way that I was going to wait because I'm going to take it in a different direction than we might have anticipated going. Um, and, but I actually,
there was no anticipation for where we're going. And so these are spontaneous. And so I love the way you're thinking, but take it where you want to take it.
let me say it like where I anticipated it going. And so, we talk a lot about sharing leadership and sharing power, and we often think of it around teams, organizations, ensembles of different sorts, about networks and the connections that people make to each other. But I'm actually going to try to be very quick about this and say that one other part of my life is that I'm a member of the Vermont legislature, and this is my 8th year of serving my community here in Brattleboro, Vermont, in the Vermont legislature, a body of 150 members in the House. And actually, government is an answer to the question of how do we share power and leadership together. And I think that we forget that actually all of the attempts that we've come in over human history to figure out how we come together in that way to be governed or to govern together is in service to actually, like, what does it mean to share power and leadership together? How do we do that? What do we want to accomplish from it? And we talked a lot last week about sort of just our own individual selves and everything. But what I'm seeing right now is the intersection of people's lives with government and what that return to that sort of fundamental question of, like, what is government's role if not to help us to share resources, power, and to help lead, in that way. And so it was a totally different direction, but I just wanted to name that.
And Tristan, what do you feel you yourself are learning in the legislature about how you're sharing power together? Like, what has, and in this time of this crisis, right? And this we've named this great pause, and we were also saying today this great pause and great disruption. What are you learning about sharing power right now as a government official?
Yeah, well, thank you. And I would say Vermont is really well suited to the intimacy of connection between the governed and the government, but what it means to be in that yourself is really incredibly powerful, because you can see both how people show up. I actually was bragging just a couple of days ago that many times my constituents in this community engage with us on a weekly Zoom call, a bunch of people. We've been sharing it out through local television. And you would think, like, it's people joining that they would say, this is what I'm experiencing. And it's actually incredible how well they hold the collective, that they're actually showing up. Yes, they have problems that they're trying to, they're making reference to or whatever and need help with, but they're there in support of the collective. And so to be a facilitator for the emergence of sort of the collective need and collective problem solving and collective visioning is really what I'm taking from this experience, much more than, sort of my power or leverage or anything else in this moment.
Mm. Mm. Well, you're sparking me a bit. Some of what I'm learning right now about how we deepen our humanity do that together. So what does it mean, again, for us to show up together? I know that our definition of leadership is about leading relationally, not positionally, you know, and in all of our behavior, all of our buying choices, everything, like how are we leading our lives together? And I want to say just how organically, how much closer I feel that our own team has gotten. And actually, I'm just realizing that people, if they've seen any of our other videos at all, they're going to see this new, amazing, magnificent face on being with us here. Julie, and I know you'll be introducing yourself, Lady J, but oh my, how great to have you join our team in the last week, and how exciting it is to have you, and just the bond that we have, and how many more people are calling us and saying, like, okay, Lori, we heard you speaking about shared leadership before and sharing power, but we're getting it a little bit more now. We're understanding a little bit more in the crisis, why this matters. And I was speaking with one of our allies and colleagues and dear friends, Peter Strigatz, over the weekend. And of course, we were talking about the dynamics that the world is in right now. And I was saying that when I watch kind of our pop culture and tune into, like, regular TV and kind of see what the narrative is, that I have been extremely heartened by the commercials and by how many brands are talking about being together. And I brought this up to Peter, and he's like, yeah, but do you think they mean it? And I'm like, maybe we'll remember for a bit longer than we did with 9/11. And maybe this second, drumbeat of a crisis on our soil and around the world will take our roots deeper in remembering the importance of our togetherness, and to see how many youth how many different people are using Instagram and all different ways to raise money for organizations in their local communities and everything, like. And even those commercials are kind of a drumbeat and a song into us of remembering that we are in this together. And so whether they mean it or not, like, they're putting out the song in a number of different ways that are having us in our consciousness get this. And I do think we're learning about what together means, and leading in our humanity together, not in our roles only together, but in our, first and foremost, from our humanity together, what the power of our humanity is together. So that's my learning that I'm with.
So I'm struck recently, and since this began, about who else do we have to bring into the circle? And this is the first time I think I've seen that conversation so broadly. And so I think what we're also learning together is, again, if we tie it to our collective wisdom or the shared responsibility to bring up all people in our togetherness and in our humanity, whether it was the school districts responding to, oh my gosh, how do we get food to the kids who need it? Or how do we get computers and technology to the families who don't have access? Or some of the conversations that are unfolding now as government, our self-government, our democracy is saying, this is how we want to spend our assets to shore people up, realizing pretty quickly that some people have been left out of that equation, and some reworks that are happening, even as imperfect as the systems are, that we're talking about that we're talking about bringing all of us to the table and making sure everybody's whole. And I think that's different than prior things that have gone on. And that's pretty exciting. And I think that has to do with us all giving voice to and seeing who's not here that needs to be here. So I think that's heartening.
Let me jump right there, Kate. I think for me, one of the incredible things about this crisis has been learning how incredibly connected we are as Earth inhabitants. I mean, even the phenomena that we are meeting on Zoom, right? Like Zoom is the container, but like human beings are breaking walls and completely connecting in such incredible ways. I think for me that has been such a reminder of everything that we have in common, how we are all one in this planet. We really are. And through this crisis, like we share so many things beyond borders or nationalities that we're all experiencing the same thing. I think part of our beautiful discussion also started with a video that Lori shared about Muji, right?
From Muji, yeah, we could maybe
Muji.
Put that up. We could put that up with this. We could post that with this because it's
absolutely. I'll post that right in the description. And basically, the video was showing how everybody's at their homes all over the world, and we are so connected in that we're experiencing the same thing. And there's something quite powerful and beautiful about both our vulnerability as human beings in this planet and our great strength to be connected and to be not contained, right? We're in our little containers, but we're not. We're so much more than that. And we saw that this past Thursday in the celebration, the 50th anniversary of Earth Day, in a beautiful way. A lot of, or all of us connected with an audience worldwide to celebrate planet Earth and the power of how we are able to just connect. It's something that moves me so much, and it's something that inspires me to bring something like a message of hope, you know, that we are the world, we are the children, you know. Yeah.
Sebastian, I appreciate you bringing up the Earth Day and Earth Night celebration. And I keep thinking about the 50 years, and then I was thinking about the 20 years. Like 20 years ago was year 2000. And I feel like if this pandemic had happened then, it would have been very different for us in so many ways. But for number one for me is the technology piece. I think in 2000, the idea that we could have calls like this or be on Facebook or have email or be able to communicate quickly and easily. All of us do all over the world. My wife calls her family in Mongolia every morning and every night. So we're talking on the other side of the world. It's 12 hours different. So when we're awake, they're asleep and vice versa. And the idea that you can do that is like something out of Star Trek. Like back in, Star Trek 50 years ago or 40 years ago, they would have said, yeah, you can pick up a communicator, look at it. But that was science fiction. The ability to communicate that quickly and easily with someone on the other side of the planet is now so easy and commonplace that we do it every day, twice a day. And I think it makes all of this that we're going through a lot easier because we're able to be together and we can all be at home but feel connected and have long conversations on the phone or on video conference. And my mother's getting to see her first grandchild, who is my son. He's 6 months old, and she hasn't seen him in a couple months because of everything going on, but she can see him on video and watch him. And I think things like that make going through this together easier. And it, in some ways, I think is breaking down some of the structures that have kept us apart maybe in the past or limited the ways that we all interacted. But now, like Earth Night was a great example, has connected us, I think, at our home, like at the most intimate place that we have in our lives. And we're able to connect with each other and have a window into each other's worlds, which is so special. And it feels like we're, I guess, kind of democratizing connection in that way. It feels really special to be part of that and to sit back and appreciate that it's new in human history. It's very new.
I love that you brought Star Trek into the call. Thank you.
And your son.
You could say he boldly went where no one else was daring to go.
Indeed.
riff off what Travis said around how it's bringing a different level of connectedness in my family too, where, you know, a month ago, I'd be mortified if Sophie was having a play date via Zoom on her swing set, but now it's a reality, and how much she needs that and how it sustains her and keeps her going and connected to her world. And one of the things I'm learning for myself is through others that I'll hear, oh, this is so bad, or when we get back to normal, and it's really helping me stretch my own story of how this is like a bad time, and that it's actually an opportunity. I'm feeling like it's a beautiful, open opportunity. It's a new canvas for different ways of thinking and being and loving each other and being open to each other. Yeah. And I'm just really appreciating it, which is a switch, because I was in complete fear mode and now I'm in complete love mode.
Well, hanging out with this juicy team, I could see how that could happen to you pretty quickly. I love what everyone has shared. This is so beautiful. And it's funny when you said, Travis, like we're seeing the intimate places. You're actually in my bedroom right now. Welcome to my bedroom. I'm not going to show you around, but here you are. And I'm just going to name, because I know on these calls we can practice what we're feeling. We can practice naming what's really happening for us. So I'm actually going to name that my entire body's sweating right now. And I have sweat dripping down the back of my back. And I have sweat running down my arms, and I have sweat. I'm perspirating. And I know that's because what I feel like I need to name is actually that I think what you said about opportunity, Melissa, is so true. I think, and around recognizing, Kate, like you said, who's not here. And I actually don't, my experience in New York City is that we're not naming the truths. That 50% of people in New York City who are dying are Black. We're actually not together in this city any more than we were before. We're not together. We're not acting together. I don't want to take this down that path in this call, but I feel all of that in my body as you're all sharing, because I'm actually not experiencing that in my city. I'm experiencing still a lot of the same behavior of government, of not even acknowledging that on these live streamings that the governor's doing every day. We're barely talking about people of color and the impact of accessible, essential workers, who is essential. And then with the teachers had so much that they've gone through. There's been so, I think, but what it's doing is bringing to light this reality in a whole new way. And the social justice groups and the allies in this city are really taking advantage of that. And I think that that's been powerful. It's been very powerful. But I think it's a critical moment for us to wake up to systemic racism. It's a critical moment for us to wake up that we're not leading to humanity if we're not all sharing equal access. It's not equal. We're not in this together. In my experience in this city, and in my neighborhood, I'm experiencing little pockets of like connection, which is so hopeful. And I live in a primarily Jamaican neighborhood, and I'm getting to know people for the first time. That is cool. And you're seeing people interact across race and age and demographic. I think in this neighborhood, I feel like some of that is breaking down. And my prayer, like you named, Lori, is that it's just like this. It's not just what happens after crisis when we're in survival together, but it's actually what we can set the foundation for so much, for disruption, total disruption, total truth telling now. Mm-hmm. That's what's in my body. And around being human. What does it mean to be human? It means to acknowledge that we're not all treated as human in this nation.
Yes, sorry.
Thank you. So thank you for letting me share that, and thank you for letting me be so honest about
always
my body and all of it.
Yeah. That's what these conversations together, these dialogues are intended to be, you know. And so thank you for bringing your full self and race, class, sexual preferences, gender. If there is a cracking into our humanity at all going on, it is interesting that in the way we've been able to organize and figure out how to stay home for this virus, you know, why aren't we doing that for all the starving children all over the world right now? Like, why haven't our race issues, you know, had us rise in our outrage, like, in the U.S. and internationally? And, you know, why have not all the disparages of that we have, all the ways that we're suffering needlessly? But I think I think speaking the truth telling is such a critical part, but listening. I think listening and being willing to hear and turn and face and to learn together. And may these conversations be a part of the larger group of us. And I think I can safely speak for all of us on this one, that we believe we're out there everywhere, that we want to learn, we want to grow together, we want to have the scales fall off of our eyes first and go into a different kind of action together. And that is a key intention with these dialogues we're having. And so, is there anyone else who wants to say, has any fire to say anything before we say goodbye on this one? Kate, am I seeing you?
I just want to say, Julie, hugs. Hugs. And go out and tell that truth and have those conversations in the community, right? Yeah. This is a moment to leverage into those conversations in a really powerful way. Because that's the first part.
Yeah. Right? So let's bring it, everyone. We're inviting you to bring it with us. We're inviting you to learn with us. We're inviting you to listen and to look around your communities and to call us into our humanity and into a different way of being in our rights together. And thank you all so much out there as global citizens. And just all of our love to you and our deep respect. And bye for now. And hello. See you again. Take care.